Hello, and welcome to TheNonProphets. This show is brought to you by the Atheist Community of Austin. I'm your host, Russell Glasser. Jeff D. is out today, but filling in are my guests, Denis Loubet.
Hello.
And Keryn Glasser.
Hi, guys.
If you are listening live, then you just heard us interrupt ourselves, as there was a problem with it playing last week's show for half an hour, so we'll just be going on for an hour, which is okay, because this was kind of a last-minute thing anyway. Appropriately, today's opening music was Why Does This Always Happen to Me by Weird Al Yankovic from his new album, Poodle Hat. Hopefully...
That was prediction if I've ever seen it.
Thank you. Hopefully, by playing Weird Al, I'll ensure that Jeff never runs out on me again. We are live September 27th, 2003. The Atheist Community of Austin is a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings Sunday mornings at Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop, 307 West 5th Street at 10:30 a.m., except for the first Sunday of each month when we have our lecture series at 12 p.m. in the Mayor's Room of the Austin History Center. ACA board meetings take place at 10 o'clock right before our regular meeting on the second Sunday of every month. The meetings are open to all ACA members, but you can only vote if you're on the board of directors. Those of you who shop at Randall's can give them our nonprofit organization number, 5158, and have 1% of your purchase donated to the Atheist Community of Austin. The Godless Gamers meet every Monday night here at Glasser Studios at 7 p.m. ACA Happy Hour takes place at Antonio's near Highway 35 and 183 every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. If you get there and don't see anyone else, hang around. Lots of people trickle in as the night goes on. Hopefully, we're broadcasting this time. And if we are, and it is in fact September 27, 2003, you can go to open up the chat room by going to www.atheistnetwork.com, clicking that little chat link at the bottom. Ordinarily, I'd be the one chatting with you, but today, obviously, I'm busy, so you won't hear much from us, but you will hear from all the other great people who are listening to the show. So... let me go to Denis with our first piece of news.
All right. Well, in the spirit of why does this happen to me, it's anti-terror laws increasingly used against common criminals. Not that I'm a common criminal or anything. In the 2 years since law enforcement agencies gained fresh powers to help them track down and punish terrorists, police and prosecutors have increasingly turned the force of the new laws not on Al-Qaeda cells, but on people charged with common crimes. The Justice Department said it has used authority given to it by the USA Patriot Act to crack down on currency smugglers and seize money hidden overseas by alleged bookies, con artists, and drug dealers. Federal prosecutors used the act in June to file a charge of terrorism using a weapon of mass destruction against a California man after a pipe bomb exploded in his lap, wounding him as he sat in his car. Leads you to wonder which was the weapon of mass destruction, his lap or the pipe bomb. A North Carolina county prosecutor charged a man accused of running a methamphetamine lab with breaking a new state law barring the manufacture of chemical weapons. If convicted, Martin Dwayne Miller could get 12 years to life in prison for a crime that usually brings about 6 months. Prosecutor Jerry Wilson says he isn't abusing the law, which defines chemical weapons of mass destruction as any substance that is designed or has the capability to cause death or serious injuries and contains toxic chemicals. So, what you've got under your sink makes you a terrorist.
Now, is it actually what you've got under your sink makes you a terrorist, or is it just if you use them in a very specific way, and if they can prove that you've been using them in a very specific way?
Well, apparently if you use them... maybe if you clean your gun with some harmful chemical and the gun you used in a crime, well, now you're a terrorist. I mean, it's like, it's just, they don't draw any distinction now anymore between, terrorist activities and ordinary criminal activities.
Oh, I see. So it's not like if you have bleach under your sink, because you clean your house with it, then you're a terrorist.
Right.
It's just like if you have bleach under your sink and you used it as a weapon somehow. Flash it in somebody's eye.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, then you're a terrorist.
Suddenly that's a weapon of mass destruction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So, civil liberties and legal defense groups are bothered by the string of cases and say the government soon will be routinely using harsh anti-terrorism laws against run-of-the-mill lawbreakers. Now,
I just want to say, if you're listening live, we have started again, basically.
Oh, no.
No, that's okay. The rest of this broadcast will go up on the archive at www.atheist-community.org/radio.html. And if you were enjoying hearing our last episode, which was about textbooks, and also later Jeff will be talking about his Testament role-playing game,
right.
You can also get it from that same address.
So, we're starting over again?
No.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Wow.
What were you saying? I've just got a few more things to go. The complaint that anti-terrorism legislation is being used to go after people who aren't terrorists is just the latest in a string of criticisms. More than 150 local governments have passed resolutions opposing the law as an overly broad threat to constitutional rights. Darn right. Some of the restrictions on government surveillance that were erased by the Patriot Act have been enacted after past abuses, including efforts by the FBI to spy on civil rights leaders and anti-war demonstrators during the Cold War. Tim Lynch, director of the Project on Criminal Justice at the Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank, said it isn't far-fetched to believe that the government might overstep its bounds again. Of course, that's what you'd expect to hear from a libertarian. But I don't think that those are frivolous fears, Lynch said. We've already heard stories of local police chiefs creating files on people who have protested the Iraq War. The government is constantly trying to expand its jurisdictions, and it needs to be watched very, very closely.
So, anybody that does this show is now on file with
We
FBI.
probably have a file.
Woo! Go me!
Sweet.
I have an FBI file.
Okay, and now that I've finally dealt with the technical issues, this week's host, will now...
Your name.
Insert name here. This is a short and sweet but very comical story, which is White House denies tying Iraq to September 11th attacks.
Huh?
The White House, in a very 1984-ish moment for Bush, the White House denied ever linking Saddam Hussein to the September 11th terrorist attacks, even though U.S. President George W. Bush often cited those strikes in his case for the war in Iraq.
Is he aware that we actually have videotape of everything he said since he's been president?
Does he know about the internet?
Does he ever read the newspaper?
I understand we have a memory.
No, actually, I also read a story this week saying he doesn't read the newspaper except for the headlines.
Oh, boy.
I see.
Oh.
That's how he stays informed.
Oh. He should watch The Daily Show more often.
He should.
Yeah.
Jon Stewart rocks.
Then he can be a little bit more aware of what he's done while he's been in office.
Yes, he can get that quote, there's an old saying in Texas, fool me once, shame on me.
He doesn't have Ronald Reagan's excuse.
Fool me twice.
We don't...
It's the end of the quote. Yes, what?
We said that we don't have any evidence to suggest a connection, said Bush spokesman Scott McClellan, who told reporters he knew of no instance in which the U.S. leader explicitly tied Iraq to al-Qaeda's devastating suicide strikes. May I?
Yes, please.
From May 1st, 2003, a dressed-up George in a flight suit said, and I quote, "The Battle of Iraq is one victory in a war on terror that began on September the 11th, 2001, and still goes on." Oops. Duh.
The most blatant lies are the ones they hope will be believed.
Yep. Okay, so that does it for that one.
That's really all
Unless
that's
we want to laugh
necessary.
at him some more.
Let's laugh at him some more. It's so fun to laugh at him.
What a dumbass. How did we elect this president?
I didn't.
We didn't.
We didn't.
Yeah, we didn't. None of us did. Nobody did. Okay. Well, I've got some interesting stories here.
Oh, please.
Sure.
Parents are seeking to ban books from schools again. But this time, it's not actually Harry Potter. 4 parents of Science Academy sophomores are determined to protect their children from books. The board of directors of the South Texas Independent School District is expected to decide tonight whether to ban 2 books. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World and Robert Heinlein's Strangers in a Strange Land.
They're banning Brave New World. How appropriate.
There's a certain amount of irony involved here. They should ban 1984.
Surprisingly, that's actually a book that I've read, because I was reading all kinds of screwy books in my high school, but I haven't read Strangers in a Strange Land. But apparently...
I want to now.
Well, there's a lot of sex in
too.
it.
Apparently, the book, part of the class's summer reading list, may lead to inappropriate sexual arousal of young teens. Right, it really aroused me when I read Brave New World about the little, 5-year-old kids that were, sleeping with each other.
Teens, everything they think is inappropriate and sexual.
Can you define inappropriate sexual feelings? I think what they want
to mean.
Definition
here.
I think they just didn't mean to put the word inappropriate in there, since all teens thinking about sex.
No. It's not inappropriate sexual thoughts. It's inappropriate sexual arousal. So, a mother actually walked in, I guess, and saw that her son was aroused and he was reading Brave New World. He probably wasn't actually thinking about the book.
Holy humiliation.
But I don't know. I'm guessing. But okay, so we feel this is inappropriate, says Julie Wild, who's a parent. That this is inappropriate for the ages of students at the Science Academy or at any South Texas Independent School District high school. She continued in her letter, specifically citing Brave New World. This is pornographic literature, and we do not feel it has any place in school funded by taxpayer dollars.
Pornographic literature.
What can we say?
Okay.
That's right. I dare them to go into any porno shop and find a copy of
We'll go easy on them. Ask for the film version of Brave New World.
Yeah.
They're sure to have that.
Rated XXX. I don't think so.
It says, a parent's ability to exercise control over reading, listening, or viewing matters extends only to his or her own children. The policies state under the section guideline principles. When instructional resources are challenged, the principles of the freedom to read, listen, and view must be defended as well. Let's see. The committee is stating that the books have been shown to help develop SAT vocabulary and advance placement analytical skills for students who attend the 8th grade, the 8th best high school in the nation.
We know they're useful literature. You don't have to read the whole thing.
Okay, so anyway.
Man.
Good for curriculum. It helps them, it helps them think critically about controversial issues.
No, it helps them think about sex, and you're evil for saying anything else. Damn it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw, by the way, a commercial just this morning when I was watching kids TV with Ben that both Muslims and Christians will find incredibly horrible. It was for Enchantress Barbie.
Oh, I like it.
And the I mean, we already know from the last episode, right, that Barbies are now outlawed in Saudi Arabia.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
But this commercial was great because the girls were actually sitting there going, let's cast a love spell. So, it's got that whole Jack Chick Dark Dungeons thing going on, as well as being Barbie, which is, just evil to begin with.
I can only assume they watched Harry Potter and said, ooh, cha-ching!
That Hermione, she's a real vixen.
Hermione Barbie.
That's awesome.
Hermione Barbie, I love it. Okay.
Okay, well,
So, I don't know what's wrong with the other book. Apparently it's about some kids who get kidnapped by aliens. I've never read it. Kidnapped by aliens and taken away. And then, they're taken, so when they're brought back to this planet, they don't know anything about sex or anything, so...
sex is more a sacrament to them. It's really bizarre. Anyway, it's a strange sort of thing.
Yeah. I was forced to read a book in high school called Bless the Beasts and Children, where there's, little kids who are, slaughtering innocent farm animals. I want to take that out of school, but let's leave Brave New World.
Yeah.
Okay.
That puts me in a nightmare.
I hate to do this, but I still see confused people in the chat room, so I'm going to have to explain once again what happened. They were playing a rebroadcast of last week's show, and they failed to pick us up, so they stopped it in the middle, but a little too late, so you didn't get my introduction explaining that.
Dear.
If you would like to hear the beginning of this show or the rest
I'm
of
Keryn
last show...
Nice to see you all. Good to be back on the show.
And this is Denis Loubet.
Hello.
If you want to hear a rebroadcast of the beginning of this show or the rest of last week's show, you'll have to go to atheist-community.org/radio.htm. Got it? Okay, glad we straightened that out.
All right.
And the reason we're not talking that much in the chat room is because I'm hosting today, and Jeff's not here, and I'm too busy to pay attention to you much.
Okay, do I do the next one here?
Y'all aren't important enough for us.
You go right ahead.
All right, from pornography to monkeys.
Oh, goody.
Monkeys exhibit...
That was a nice segue.
Thank you. As if they have anything in common. Monkeys exhibit sense of fair play. They go on strike if they see a raw deal, scientists say. September 17th. Humans aren't the only ones who hate a bum deal, it turns out. In a recent study, Brown...
Oh, I'm sorry. Just a quick comment from the chat room, of course, that if they're going to ban stuff for inappropriate sexual material, guess what should be on their hit list?
Indeed, the big B.
The Bible with all the dirty stuff.
All the dirty stuff with Noah and his daughters.
An illustrated version of that. Just go to the Brick Testament, and it'll illustrate all the dirty stuff in the Bible.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. BrickTestament.com, I think, is the address.
Yes.
Good
illustration of all the dirty stuff in the Bible.
Good parts of the Bible.
That is a terrific site. Okay.
Brown capuchin monkeys trained to exchange a granite token for a cucumber treat often refused the swap if they saw another monkey get a better payoff, a grape. Instead, they often threw the token, refused to eat the piece of cucumber, or even gave it to the other capuchin after viewing the lopsided deal, said Emory University researcher Sarah Brosnan. Brosnan said the results indicate man and monkey may have inherited a sense of fairness from an evolutionary ancestor. This implies we evolved this way, said Brosnan, whose work with colleague Franz B.M. de Waal is reported in Thursday's issue of the journal Nature. The trait may have helped species cooperate and survive, Brosnan said. The researchers at Emory's Yerkes National Primate Research Center studied 5 female monkeys, testing them 2 at a time. When both monkeys were given a cucumber slice after handing over the token, they completed the trade 95% of the time. But when one was given the tastier grape for the same amount of work, the rate of cooperation from the monkeys fell to 60%, with the cheated primate sometimes throwing the token, refusing the cucumber, or giving the cucumber to the other monkey. And when one didn't have to do anything to get a grape, the other made the trade for the cucumber only 20% of the time.
So they're mad because they feel that they've been treated unfairly.
They're cheated, yeah.
Interesting.
And they recognize it. The refusal to make the exchange increased as the experiment went on. With time, it got worse and worse. They were not happy with me, Brosnan said, though she later added that she couldn't really know what the monkey's emotions were. Now, what is this stuff at the bottom? Did you tack down here?
Let me take a look at that. See, the thing about the reason that I thought this was actually interesting was because how many times have you heard a Christian say that if there's no God taking a personal interest in us,
right,
then there's no absolute standard for morality. All right and wrong is meaningless. You've heard that, right?
Yeah. I just need an attribution for this.
It's just a guy on the Motley Fool message board.
Okay.
See, actually, let me do that. Okay, go ahead.
Stop!
Yeah. If James Brown from the Motley Fool board happens to listen to this, this is your quote. Thank you.
Yep. This is a hammer blow to C.S. Lewis and his book Mere Christianity. Lewis argues that all humans unconsciously subscribe to a standard set of rules for behavior, which he describes as the law of human nature. We do not all follow these rules all the time, he admits, but we all want everyone else to follow them, which shows how much we esteem these standards. We couldn't have come up with these standards on our own, Lewis asserts. Therefore, they came from an outside source, which he labels God. But if other primates also exhibit an innate understanding of fairness, then I can see only one of two possible explanations. Either, one, we have inherited our own sense of fairness from our primate ancestors, along with an opposable thumb and other characteristics, or two, God is deeply concerned with the moral behavior of capuchin monkeys. If the latter, then I suppose God will one day incarnate himself into the body of a monkey, be born of a female capuchin who has not had sexual relations with an alpha male, grow up to be an example to the other monkeys of his tribe on how to properly live life. He will be executed by those in his tribe, but his body will not be found a couple of days later as a proof of his majesty and power. His followers will then spread his message to other monkeys, even unto the ends of the earth. At the appointed time, God will return and gather up all believing monkeys, dead or alive, and airlift them to a private zoo, where they will have giant bananas and low-hanging limbs and vines, living in happiness forever and ever.
That's so beautiful.
That is beautiful.
But seriously, obviously the way we derive our moral system is by having an understanding of how we feel, and by extension, how other people feel, and having a sense of basically indignation when we feel that somebody else is getting treated better than us.
Right.
Better than us.
It's an innate...
Laws just follow from that. You've got your basic rules like treat others the way you would want to be treated.
Right.
If monkeys can do it, if monkeys can do it, and presumably God didn't send down, big monkey tablets to tell them how things work. If monkeys can figure that out without a God, surely we can too.
Well, apparently some of us can't. They need a big book.
Well, but not only is it the case that they can't, but they also think that nobody can. That's why they come and say, atheists have no basis for morality. Mm-hmm. They're leeching off the moral system that Christians put in place.
Right.
Wrong.
Wrong. Woo.
My turn.
Go for it. I wasn't going to say anything. I was clearing my throat.
And now in a church-state issue. An army chaplain is in detention because he sought to teach about Islam. Within days of the September 11th terrorist attacks, Captain James J. Yee, a Muslim chaplain stationed at the Fort Lewis Army Base south of here, dedicated himself to a new mission. He would tell anyone who would listen, according to people who heard his sermons, that Islam was not a violent religion, and he would deliver that message at the base in churches and mosques, on college campuses, and on the streets of Olympia, where he lived with his wife and daughter.
Okay.
Captain Yee, 35, would apply that same determination when he was sent last year to minister to Muslim detainees at the American prison camp for militants and suspected terrorists at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. There, it was Captain Yee who arranged for the muezzin's call to prayer to ring through the camp over a loudspeaker 5 times a day. And when the compact disc player broke, he chanted the prayers himself into a microphone.
It's German.
Yes, he is. Part of his job, he said in an interview there last April, was to deal with the misunderstandings between the prisoners and the authorities. I advise the base commander with respect to religion and help facilitate worship here, Captain Yi said, but most importantly, I'm utilized to diffuse tensions within the camp. Sounds like kind of a worthy goal to me, actually. Captain Yi, the son of Chinese immigrants... Oh, well, I didn't read the part where he got arrested. That's kind of important. Military officials have... on September 10th, military officials arrested him on a layover in Florida and locked him in a military brig in South Carolina while he is being investigated in a growing military inquiry into spying at Guantanamo. Military officials have declined to say precisely why Captain Yi, who has not been charged with any crime, is being investigated, but other law enforcement officials have said the investigation was aimed at suspicions of espionage, improperly assisting the prisoners, or possibly another breach of military duties. Let's see. Imam Joban, who is... Let's see. I think he is the opposite of a spy, said Imam Muhammad Joban of the Olympia Islamic Center, where Captain Yi worshipped and led prayers for a congregation of about 300, mostly Cambodians. He is loyal to his country. He tried to help this country understand Islam better, that Islam is not a violent religion, as many people think. Okay, guys, conflicting emotions going on here.
Yeah.
On the one hand, I think that Islam, being a religion, is full of nonsense.
Of course, and it's dangerous.
Yes. And, to continue, I think that I have my doubts about the appropriateness of having army chaplains at all, who are basically state-sponsored religious leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my doubts about how appropriate it is for people to lead Christian prayers and services on the taxpayer dollar. I'm just saying doubts because I recognize that some people feel like they need those services, but it's in the gray area.
Yeah.
But let's have a little consistency here, okay? If you're going to let people preach the Christian religion, why not let them preach the Muslim religion?
Yeah. Absolutely. I have no argument with that.
Well, but that's an issue across the board. I mean, the Christians are obviously trying to take away rights of every other religion on the planet.
Exactly.
And force their own, and it's going to go on until the end of time, because...
Yeah, because, I mean, Christians who are trying to reweave church and state back together say that it's a fairness issue. It's like,
But it's not.
They should be able to do whatever they want. But when it's some other fairy tale besides their own, suddenly they're under arrest with no charges.
Right. Well,
I'm going to see them one of these days arrest J.K. Rowling for, charges of treason.
Well, she's not an American citizen, but, maybe she comes here for book signings or something.
Yeah, right.
They can, grab her on suspicion of international terrorism.
But they got this guy on espionage, right? They don't have anything
charge
on
him with anything.
Yeah, they don't charge him with anything. So what the hell? It'd be different if he was American citizen. Oh, wait a minute, he is an American citizen.
In the Times interview, Captain Yi, who was born in Naperville, Illinois, said he first became interested in Islam in 1991 after getting to know Egyptian army officers in vehicle maintenance classes. By the way, this guy is born and raised in Springfield, New Jersey, so he's not he's not an illegal immigrant.
Born in Illinois,
like
land of Lincoln, man,
Yep.
Isn't that where Bart Simpson or something?
No, actually, Springfield the Springfield of The Simpsons has an indeterminate state.
I see.
Well, anyway.
We all know that would be a very bad influence to go on.
Right.
Yes. Very bad.
Okay.
I mean, it's...
It's insane.
It just becomes that much clearer why church and state should not mix when you give one religion preferential treatment and automatically treat another religion as evil.
Okay, but I mean, we already do, because, like, Christmas is a national holiday that everybody has paid vacation for, and nothing stays open on Christmas. But, you know, I don't see them giving me a paid vacation for Yom Kippur. I am taking that day off out of my own paycheck.
Yeah, you can do that voluntarily.
Right.
But they won't support it.
They're already... There's no other religions in the United States that are national holidays. They already do that. They already mix that with state.
Well, yeah, and is that appropriate or not?
No.
No, of course not. It's unfair, and as a capuchin monkey, I throw down my cucumber.
Now the monkey on the street interview. Well, of course, you know, if you even try to talk about taking away Christmas, boy, howdy.
I know. I'd get stoned. And speaking of stoning...
Let's hear from another country where they give certain religions preferential treatment over other ones.
Yeah, they missed my cool segue. Y'all were talking over me.
I heard you.
Okay.
Go for it.
In Nigeria, in Athena, Nigeria, on September 25th, there was a woman named Amina Lowell, who was a peasant woman, whose case became known worldwide as she was sentenced to death by stoning for adultery. She was acquitted today by the highest Islamic court in her state. Yay!
Good.
No death by stoning. I really honestly didn't know they've actually done death by stoning since, like, The Life of Brian. So... a roar of approval swept through the small courtroom when a 5-member panel of judges ruled 4-1 to overturn Miss Lowell's conviction in a case that had heaped worldwide, some word that I don't know, populous country, blah, 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 split between Muslims and Christians, blah, blah, blah. Anyway... She sat quietly, holding in her lap what had been cited as the chief evidence in her crime, her daughter, Wazila, now almost 2 years old. Mrs. Lowell was to be executed as soon as she had finished weaning the child. I would be weaning that child until it was an adult.
That's right.
Okay. So, I mean, nursing that child. So Miss Lowell apparently had been married to someone and had gotten a divorce from this person, and then for some reason confessed that while she was married to him, she had had an affair. However, the person she had had an affair with denied it, up and down, and swore on the Quran.
Oh, well, either they should charge him, or they should just say that there's no evidence against her.
Him.
Right.
So it says...
if he says he didn't have the affair and he's not getting punished, then, you know, there you go. Case closed.
That's right.
It does say something about that in here. First of all, it says one of the reasons they dismissed her was because human rights groups condemned her sentence as a violation of international treaties against torture, which Nigeria has signed. The defense argued that death by stoning was not allowed under Nigerian constitution. It goes on to say that ethnic violence is estimated to have killed some 10,000 Nigerians since 1999.
Ethnic violence? What does that have to do with her?
Well, stoning, death by stoning, because having an adulterous relationship is...
Well, I don't. Does that qualify as ethnic? I mean, don't the Sharia laws apply to everyone?
I'd like to think so.
I mean, everyone there, not me.
Okay, so it says that Miss Lowell's case was dismissed, was overturned largely on the basis of technicalities in the application of Islamic law. It remains unclear what impact, if any, it will have on dozens of other Sharia sentences now pending for Islamic courts, some of which involve execution by stoning. Just this week, for instance, another Sharia court, also in the north, convicted a man of sodomy and sentenced him to death by stoning. Miss Lowell, who was, okay, I already said that. So she admitted for some reason that she'd had an affair with this man and that the kid belonged to him. He denied it, and nobody asked for a DNA test to see who the kid actually was.
Faith-based
and then they ordered her to
law.
be executed. So, but the panel also cited more substantive grounds. The police officers who arrested Miss Lowell produced no witnesses to fornication. The court also gave a nod to what defense lawyers had called the sleeping embryo theory. Under some interpretations of Sharia, an embryo can be in gestation for up to 5 years, meaning that Miss Lowell's baby could have been fathered by her former husband.
Yeah. Luckily, their kooky writings can be interpreted so that she can escape on a technicality.
That's handy. I'd just like to say, we just did a story where I basically ridiculed the army for detaining a man just because basically he's teaching that Islam is not a violent religion.
Gets tough to support, doesn't it?
I'll repeat what I said at a memorial on September 11th, 2002, which was being religious doesn't necessarily make you an evil person. It doesn't make you violent, and I think that can be safely said of most mainstream religions. But it's fundamentalism. Believing something so strongly that you would kill and die for it because this particular set of writing has to be absolutely true, no possibility for error anywhere. That's evil.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's Christianity or whether it's Islam or even Judaism. Sorry, Keryn. Well, some fundamentalists. There are some, I wouldn't say fundamentalist, but extremely. Look what's happening in Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole, in Jewish law, they say that women must stand several whatever behind their husbands.
Yeah.
And, there's plenty of fundamentalist kookiness within the Jewish religion. There was an interesting point that the court actually didn't accept, but I think this is a very interesting statement. Miss Ibrahim, I guess she's the one who was being on trial or something, had argued that to consider pregnancy as evidence of a crime inherently discriminates against women and therefore violates an important tenet of Islamic thought that men and women are equal before the law. I think that's very interesting. Women can always be charged for adultery because you can prove that they've lost their virginity or that they've had a child or, whatever. But, with a man...
Men, they don't have that.
You can't prove anything that he's ever slept with anyone ever in his entire life except by word of mouth.
Yeah.
Inherently, women have physical evidence and men don't.
Well, I suspect that the Quran, just like the Bible, as Jeff likes to say, is the big book of multiple choice.
Yeah.
You can read parts of it and say, hey, this is a peaceful religion and women and men are treated equally under the law, or you can read it with the eye of the Taliban.
Right. If all you've got is a rock, every problem looks like a guy buried up to his neck in the ground with a sheet over his head.
Okay.
That's how they stone them.
Gotcha.
Hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, they bury them in the ground, up their neck, put a sheet with a bag over or a sheet over their head, and then a big crowd of people stand around them with stones and throw the stones at the head.
Who actually volunteers to throw the stones?
He who is without sin?
They love it.
Me. Ooh, I want to throw a stone at his head.
What can I say?
It's at the head
it's exciting.
If they don't, they don't. But Since they they must want to.
I think it's just really a cultural thing. People like to think that human nature is the same regardless of upbringing.
Come here, my son. You're 5 years old. It's time you learn how to throw stones at people's heads.
Yeah.
It's
about time you learn to become a man.
It's not much better here in the States. It's just that we're here for passive entertainment. We like to watch as they're electrocuted or injected,
Well,
but they like to get in there and throw those rocks.
I can at least say that when we watch violence on TV, for the most part, we know that it's fictional.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For the most part, yes.
And when you see the real stuff,
it's not funny and it's not cool.
Impact. Yeah, it's nasty.
Watch that tape of the World Trade Centers going down. That's not cool.
That's not cool.
I don't know. The scary thing is I know a lot of people that do think it's funny and do think it's cool. And whatever. Anyway.
Disturbing.
Saw a really good fight scene in a movie I just saw, though. That was fun.
Those are cool, yeah.
Yeah, those are great.
But this one was cool because it was like an 80-year-old guy that was like beating up a 19-year-old teenager with a knife.
Oh, like Yoda.
Really great.
All right.
It was a great movie.
We like to see that fairness go.
He was beating up a whole group of them, actually.
Cool.
Oh, it was great.
And I'd also like to say I'm as big a fan of violent video games as the next guy. In fact, more than most guys.
Me
Excessively
too.
so. I can vouch for that.
Well, that's going a little far. And this is the last story of the day, so we're going to have to either stretch it out or you guys are going to have to make up something else to talk about.
Okay.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we
I've
only
been reading
went on
the
for about
news
an hour.
groups recently, and hey, there's stuff on.
Have you guys, have you read Denis Lying Liars?
No, I haven't.
Oh, that's
you'll
too
have
bad.
You'll have to ask Jeff about that when he gets back.
Oh, yeah, I know. We've already talked about it. Great book, Lies and the Lying Liars Who Tell Them by Al Franken.
I did get to hear him talk at the bookstore.
Yes.
And that was fun.
And I enjoyed that, except that he was... We should have mentioned this 2 weeks ago, but we didn't.
It was entertaining.
I enjoyed that, but I'd already read the book, and I realized that almost everything he was saying was out of there verbatim. But he was very funny.
But his delivery is excellent.
I think Al Franken actually has a chapter on the Moonies, which is what this story is about.
All right, go for it.
This is news from Salon on what's going on with faith-based funding these days. Last December, at his 3-day God and World Peace event, the Reverend Sun Myung Moon drew a notable slate of political figures, from Senator Richard Lugar to Representative Danny Davis, and perhaps most notably, James Towie, director of the White House Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives, who offered some respectful opening remarks to Moon's Unification Church faithful. Moon followed and called for all religions to come together in support of the Bush plan for faith-based initiatives. Coming from Moon, that made perfect sense. Because he already believes...
It's the new cronyism.
Yes. He already believes that all religions will come together. Under him!
Uh-huh.
The separation between religion and politics, he has observed on many occasions, is what Satan likes most. His gospel, Jesus failed because he never attained worldly power, but Moon will succeed, he says, by purifying our sex-corrupted culture, and that includes cleaning up gays, which he calls dung-eating dogs.
Are we actually talking, killing them? Ethnic cleansing? Religious cleansing?
I would bet he's not against stoning.
I would bet that he doesn't say that in public.
Oh.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he thought it was okay. Cleaning up gays and American women, a line of prostitutes. Oh, and Jews had better repent, too.
Did he say American women?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're two.
Yeah.
An American woman and a Jew. Moon claims that the Holocaust was payback for the crucifixion of Christ. Through the principle of indemnity, Hitler killed 6 million Jews. His solution is a world theocracy that will enforce proper sexual habits in order to bring about heaven on earth.
Our government is listening to this fuckwad?
Our government is listening to him a lot. Did you know that he owns...
Who is this?
The Reverend Sun Myung Moon. Did you know that he owns the Washington Times?
I'm never reading it again.
Yeah.
Did you ever read it?
Yeah.
It's worse than Fox News. I'm not talking about the Washington Post here.
Oh, okay.
No.
Never mind.
The Washington Times, anytime somebody says, I can prove so-and-so, and then they post a link to the Washington Times, you laugh at them, because this is a propaganda rag owned by Reverend Sun Myung Moon, who is an extreme religious wacko who donates heavily to the Republican Party.
Apparently he's a wacko. He really... Wow. Yikes. I don't even know if I've even heard about people that actually thought that Hitler was a good guy.
Would you like to know what sort of proper sexual habits he advocates?
Sure.
According to Moon, in order to restore blood purity, very specific very specific practices are prescribed.
Big Heil, dude.
Sex before marriage is out of the question, well, of course, and when sexual consummation does happen, it must adhere to the very specific instructions, such as a photograph of Moon must be nearby.
What?
Yeah.
Does it really say that?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Seriously.
Oh my God.
So that everything occurs under the Reverend's watchful eye.
Yuck. What a pervert.
First, you have 2 nights of woman on top sex, and then the couple reverse position.
Do you actually have to have like a sheet in between you with like a hole cut in it?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they have that thing. First, you have to have 2 nights of women on top, and then your reverse positions, which is symbolic of the man restoring his dominion over Eve. Which is, of course, the proper missionary condition. And after the act of love, both spouses should wipe their sexual areas with the holy handkerchief.
The holy handkerchief.
That he sells for $5.95 a piece.
Yeah,
probably 5.
3, sir.
Oh, 3, right.
Not to mention the autographed picture that you actually have to keep by your
The
bed.
holy handkerchief of Moon.
Oh,
brother.
Well, I think we should immediately recall anyone who speaks respectfully of this whack job.
We can't, because they're a huge part of the funding of the Republican Party.
Oh, well, then we should definitely have them recalled.
Well, yeah. Incredibly, it now appears that under the new priorities of the budding faith-based initiative, the federal government has given Moon disciples its imprimatur and funding. Last summer, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services gave a $475,280 grant to fund Free Teens USA, an after-school celibacy club in urban New Jersey. Free Teens USA, like other Moon civic organizations, claims it has no ties to the Unification Church, but according to documents obtained by Salon under the Freedom of Information Act, which will probably be gone after another year of the Patriot Act, the director and chief finance officer of the Free Teens USA Club, as well as others listed on the group's board of directors, are all former or present high-ranking Unification Church officials who omitted those leadership roles from their applications for the federal grant.
So already there's fraud.
Yes.
Right from day one.
Are you required to disclose that sort of thing?
Yeah, I was wondering. Are you actually required to disclose all of your experience you've ever had on your resume? Are you
required to list your religion?
Your religion? You said
what
leadership
church
experience.
You're not required to put anything. It's just...
I certainly have not. A lot of people have been telling me that I shouldn't tell anybody I went to college so that I can find a job.
That's sad.
Isn't that sad?
You're overqualified.
But if I did that, could I be put on trial for what was it? Withholding evidence or something? What was it?
Withholding? You mean because under the Patriot Act they don't need a reason.
Reason for
right?
What?
No, they don't need a reason.
They can just say, she didn't say that she went to college, and so she's probably a terrorist.
Yeah, right.
All they have to do is say that magic word, you're a terrorist, and then they can charge you with anything.
Yeah, and you can't second guess who's going to do that, so it's like everybody's at risk.
But back to Moon. Moon has also made impressive headway into the current Bush White House. Other administration officials have attended Moon events, including then-incoming General Attorney John Ashcroft, who attended Moon's inaugural prayer luncheon for unity and renewal just before George W. Bush took office.
We really do have psycho wackos.
God, these people need to be kicked out of office.
No, it's amazing to me, though, that kind of two-faced that they actually support this guy just because he gives them a bunch of money, because his beliefs are clearly blasphemy, right?
Right.
He
and then
says
they give him a bunch of money.
Jesus Christ failed and I'm the Messiah. That's
right.
That's seriously what he says, right?
So I can only assume they don't believe what they purport to believe.
I don't know. Ashcroft, of all people,
yeah, really.
you would think that his religion is important enough to him that he doesn't just sell it out for money. Yikes. But, as long as they have common goals like this abstinence program, that too. And perhaps more important, other former and current members of his unification faithful have ascended to high levels of the Bush administration.
Just reading this, I feel dirty. What else?
Within his church, his entreaties...
What else will increase my despair?
Within his church, his entreaties to cherish and punish your love organ with pliers if necessary, he suggested in 2001, managed to find an audience.
I'm sorry, wait, was this the religion of sadomasochism? I missed that part.
Not that there's anything wrong with sadomasochism, but when you enforce it, I have a problem.
Pliers. Would he be implying those be used on children?
Well, he said use it on yourself. But I don't know. On Blessed Children World, an online message board for kids of unification families, there is much discussion of church beliefs. I hate gay people, one BC observes. Oh, Blessed Children person, I guess. Other BCs ask whether it's a sin to go to the prom and debate a church doctrine that rape victims are considered impure. Kill yourself before you're raped, one posts. Bite out your tongue and choke on your own blood if you need to. No joke. Ooh. That was in Father's speech from some time ago. That's from the quote. I guess they call Reverend Moon Father. Is that right?
I love these family values here.
Anyhow, I know it sounds totally Nazi of us to say, think, and believe such things. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Anybody on the message boards who can disprove any of this, please? Because
quick before the show ends, can somebody give a link to those message boards? I think we should participate.
After reading this, I'm tempted to bite my tongue off and drown in my own blood. Good grief.
I heard a really good...
reason they cite.
I was listening to the news on the way to...
Oh, wait, it's time to wrap up. I'm sorry. What? Quick.
It was like a little challenge where you call in, and if you can guess it right, you get tickets to some concert. And it was a pamphlet that was like an how to not masturbate flyer.
Oh yeah. We've done that on the show before.
Wacky.
It was very amusing.
Anyway, it just mentions in passing that although this post was deleted, it seems to be right in line with Moon's speeches. And on that note, with many grim things happening in the world right now, we leave you with Weird Al Yankovic. Why does this always happen to me?
Indeed.